Hello and welcome to the Roar-Makerz podcast.
The one-stop shop for courage, confidence and mindset building.
Also bringing you all the aspects of mental health awareness, business and entrepreneurship. We are your hosts,
Adam Ellis
and Jason Borman of the Roar-Makerz Coaching. So today we've got a very special guest, one of my closest friends in the coaching world. Known each other for quite a long time now, and I can't wait to get him out. So without further ado, welcome John.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Hello.
So as I mentioned before, John is an internationally accredited life coach. He's emotionally intelligent because he's done several courses on that and really gone a long way into improving himself in every field he can. And yeah, that's it. Basically, let's hear from John. So do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and story from like your perspective?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, where do I start? Yeah, I'll keep it brief at the beginning. Tomorrow will be 15 years to the day since I fell through the doors of a rehab in Bournemouth, a rehabilitation centre for drugs and alcohol. I had had on and off about 20 years of active addiction and alcoholism. I was kind of at the end of the line. I was broken. And I went into rehab, and I was in rehab for 9 months. That was the start of a totally different life, to a life that I'd been accustomed to throughout the latter years of school, college, university. I flunked. I didn't finish my degree. I did well in my first 2 years, but in that summer of the second year, I had a kind of real serious bout of drug-induced psychosis, which led to a bit of a mental breakdown. I was introduced to mental health services, etc. So this journey had been kind of quite an entrenched addiction over the 20 years until I got to the age of 33. This wasn't my first attempt at getting clean and sober either. There'd been many over the years. So I did 9 months rehab, 3 months intense, 7 days a week, and then I was 6 months into what's called aftercare, and that's your transition back into the world. And it's about really finding a whole new life again. It really is kind of sort of starting from scratch. In the sense of, I don't mean in the sense of, I was very lucky in I never ended up homeless. I'd always had work, whatever. But from an emotional and mental point of view, and life skill point of view, it was really kind of back to the basics. It really was, and building up a whole new life. For a long time in early recovery, I struggled really badly with very low confidence, very low courage, really low self-esteem. Even though I was following everything that was being suggested to me, my self-esteem was, and at times, if I'm not careful today, can really struggle. It can really kind of take a bit of a knock if I allow myself to get into certain routines. And the thing about recovery that is ongoing is that you have to maintain a certain amount of momentum going. And I've seen plenty of people in the time that I've been around that are no longer here. because they decided that, you know, I don't need to be doing any of this anymore. And that tragically, and it is tragic because you never have to die from addiction. Unfortunately, thousands do every year. Yeah, you know, that's a different podcast. I think I could go on to a whole different level there. But about, you know, I kind of trundled along in recovery. I've ended up working at the rehab where, you know, I went through for the last 13 years now, and I'm still there now. But kind of, I just felt that I was bobbing along for a long time, and it was actually being introduced to a whole new circle of people that I hadn't really had any dealings with before. A community of coaches, you know, that introduced me to the world of coaching, and more importantly, in those very early days, to a really good kind of a vision of what personal development needed to be, or how personal development really needed to kind of work if it was going to be effective in your life, you know. And very much, I think what I liked about it is similar to my own recovery journey, is that it's ongoing personal development. And through that process, you know, it allowed me the ability to really learn some real good skills for my own self-confidence, and definitely some skills for, you know, having greater courage, you know, and it was a whole new world to me. You know, again, it was frightening. You know, they were talking about things like stepping outside your comfort zone, and you know, and for so long I've been bobbing along in this lovely little cocoon, you know, but the reality was, in here internally, at an internal level, a spiritual level, I guess, I felt, you know, really empty and really stagnant. And so whilst all this stuff scared me, the idea of stepping outside your comfort zone, working on yourself to better yourself, engaging with different kinds of people, networking, all this kind of, you know, world, although it seemed really scary, you know, it seemed a lot more refreshing than just bobbing along for the rest of my life, you know, doing what I was doing. And I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something different. Because I work in a field where it is about helping others anyway, it seemed perfect for me as a sidestep to move into coaching myself. And, you know, I guess one of the first things I learned from coaching, similar as you, on a similar level as when you're learning to be a therapist, you know, you have to learn about you first before you've got any chance of working with anybody else. And that's been a real eye-opening process, through really kind of stripping me down again to a certain degree, and really looking at what, you know, I kind of value in life. What are my values in life? What do I want to what do I stand for in life? What do I kind of want to leave behind? And a lot of that was then further developed after my ongoing, you know, it's ongoing with my coaching development, and working with other people. But then I was also then introduced to EI, emotional intelligence, with an amazing coach, who, you know, I stay as connected as I can with that individual. She's an absolute marvel at what she does. And again, that was another kind of like a mini transformation, really, the understanding of, you know, emotional intelligence, what it meant, how we can regulate ourselves better through good emotional intelligence, how we're able to look back over, you know, where some of our needs that we have today and our behaviors today came from, which very often come from unwanted needs, unwanted behaviors from when we were years ago. You know, they're not even at a conscious level. And again, that allowed me to connect with myself greater, so that I could understand my values more. I could understand what I stood for. I could understand what made me tick and what didn't, and what needed some work. again, it was a whole, you know, another world opening up. But by being able to, you know, go through that journey as well, I'm at a place now where I perhaps have, at where I am now, I've probably, and it's not great. There's always work to do there, I think, but I'm probably at my most confident than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I was not a confident kid anyway. I was always a shy, reserved kid. I found something to anesthetize all that out for 20 years. So, of course, I never worked on it. And then, of course, I found recovery. And then from that, I then found coaching, life coaching, the idea of personal development, and then EI. And combined, it's just kind of, you know, I'm probably at my most confident that I've ever been in my life.
See, this
Honestly.
This is why I wanted to get you on, John, because like your story is why, I mean, I'm lucky enough to call you a friend, like, and I hope you see me in the same regard.
Oh yeah, likewise, definitely.
I've like watched your journey, and yeah, I've heard little bits of your story before we met, and yeah, some of like you've actually been to the pits and you built yourself back up again, and it's really inspirational. I've got to say that. And what would you say was your kind of, people often talk about this pinnacle moment where, you know, you decide to change, or you kind of, you know, you're at your wit's end, and you know, you want to build your life back up, and you know, you see a world around you full of possibilities, and what was your pinnacle moment that helped you step into this world of coaching?
I think I've definitely had two pinnacle moments in that respect. I had one, I would say it was about 2 weeks, going back 15 years ago, it was about 2 weeks before I went into rehab. And I was in a real mess again. I've been signed off work again. Work were amazing with work. I worked in a really cool, supportive finance company. It just got really dark and desperate again with the drugs and the alcohol. I remember one day, I'll keep this brief because I don't really want to go into it too much, not because I'm aware of time more than anything. It's not a problem with sharing it. Twice before I tried to take my own life, and the time previous to that, I'd actually died, and they brought me back, and I was in ITU for a while, and yeah, and literally, you know, kind of, I self-discharged from hospital a few days, about a week later. And the first thing I went and did was score drugs. But I remember after that I always said if I was going to do it again, I was going to make sure that there was no possibility, you know. And I just remember sitting there like in a real mess, and just my mental health was breaking down again, and those thoughts had started to creep into my head again. And call it what you will, because I don't want to put any tag or identity on it, because I never have, and I don't really want to. But there was some voice, be it in my head or wherever, that said, John, you don't really want to do this. You want to live. And I think for me, that was a real snapping point internally. I just broke emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I just snapped. And that was the first you know, because I'd said that I wanted to get clean before, but there was always conditions, and, you know, and it's never going to work on that level. And at this point, it was just, I was done hook, line and sinker. You know, I knew that there was just no way out of this, and I desperately wanted help. And if it meant that I was going to lose my job, which I loved, I was so scared of losing that job for so long. But if I lost the job or whatever I lost, it didn't matter as long as I could get help. And I think that was the first breaking point for me. And then probably the second breaking point for me was about 5 years ago. I had a bit of a nervous breakdown over some stuff going on. Not a severe one, but it was enough that I was off work for 6 weeks. And that's when I was first introduced to yoga and meditation. And that was a real breaking point for me. One of my closest friends, who I've known for a number of years now, said, I want you to come away on this retreat with us. They had a retreat on that weekend, and I went away for 3 days just to this yoga retreat with just amazing food, yoga, meditation. It was just on the outskirts of Glastonbury in this amazing house, and I had the best time. And that was another point, and that was the point then that I first got introduced to coaching, believe it or not. So there's been 2 pinnacle points, I think, in my life that have been huge. One, the break when I realized I was done with my addiction, and the second was about 4.5, 5 years ago, I think, and that's when I found coaching, personal development, and had a coach at the time. And was introduced to an amazing coaching community, and I'm still part of today, and it's like my family,
Yeah, absolutely, and we're all part of that community, and it's supportive, and how we've all trained to be coaches, and how we've met Lynn's through, for our intelligence. Adam's now currently on that course, and he's enjoying it, so. It's like, she's changing the world one person.
She is. Absolutely amazing lady. Absolutely amazing lady. It's a real privilege to know her.
And I wouldn't mind doing this, but it's Lindsay Cap, if anyone wants to check her out.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if it was okay to say, but yeah, Lindsay Cap Coaching, the most amazing emotional intelligence course that it blew me away. Every session we had, it was just something came up from it. And again, it's only through these kind of episodes of personal development that we do, as you two know, through that, an ocean of other possibilities opens up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just for ourselves, which ultimately that's where it starts, but we're able to then give it out to the world. And for me, that's the greatest gift of being able. There's nothing nicer for me, and I've coached a few people of there's something priceless about working with somebody who, when you first meet them, they're lost. They just really, they're directionless. They're lost. They're kind of their values are their own worth is on the floor. And being able to work with them over a number of sessions and helping build somebody up again, and seeing them come alive again, and seeing life come on in their eyes, and they're talking about these opportunities. You're not saying anything, they're telling you about all these things that they're starting to think about and want to do, and that's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. You can't put a price on that. It's being able to do that for somebody else. For me, is the best thing in the world. It really is, and that's why I love coaching so much, because it's just, as I said, been a sign step for me out of working in a kind of care environment, i.e. the rehab that I went through, to now veering off into something totally different, and yet the similarities are there, and seeing somebody come alive again. You've done it. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
I'm so glad you're addicted to that now. Positivity and coaching and helping others, and
I get a buzz from that, and it's I wake up in the morning and I feel okay. I'm not suffering because of that buzz, life just I don't know. I would urge anybody that struggles with, courage and confidence to perhaps take that step of getting a coach. It still blows me away when I look at where I was 15 years ago, even before coaching was even in the picture, and I was just looking at going into rehab. I couldn't look people in the eye. The idea of doing something like this, I swear to God, it would have just been absolutely no way. I would have come up with 101 excuses not to come on to something and talk, even in a room with 2 other people, let alone being on a video link. I couldn't look people in the eye. I spent most of my time looking at the pavement. When I was out and about, it was, it's just a horrible place to be. So I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be in that dark, lonely place of feeling lost and directionless in life. Because it's it's soul destroying. It's soul destroying. And you know, if you stay there long enough, you believe it. You know, you truly believe that's all that you're capable of. And yet people, I think once they, you know, once people are given a little bit of space, you know, being in a position to give someone space, your time, your presence, to let them just say what's going on, and kind of, you know, guide them from there, really, through coaching to hopefully something totally different and unique for them, you know, as a way forward in life. You know, it's yeah, so that's why I love it so much, because I know what it's like being in that place of despair, if you like.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've got both perspectives, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, for sure, and you know, it's not forgetting where I came from as well. You know, I've got my own recovery, and that's separate to what I do with coaching. For me, you know, I wouldn't mix the two personally. I would certainly coach people that are in recovery, but from a coaching perspective and not from a, you know, addiction perspective. For me, they're two totally different. They're entwined, of course. They are. They're part of my journey. But you know, I think there's it's a different line of recovery, if you like. And in a sense, life coaching is a little bit like giving someone a recovery from whatever they've been going through, be it low self-esteem, feeling, you know, lost, feeling, you know, I mean, it's an awful feeling.
It's taking those little steps, isn't it? And, you know, giving someone a pathway to follow, you know, or just, you know, it's not even giving someone, it's like them having the empowerment to find that path for themselves.
I was just going to say that, you know, that's all we do, is really guide them towards their own path and their own truth, you know, and being able to kind of really acknowledge that, you know, their own potential, their inner potential, and what that, you know, if they continue to build on that inner potential, it's going to come out in everything that they do. You know,
a big part of our job is creating that possibility for people.
Yes.
To see their own path.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that stuck place, you know, it's so hard to kind of.
Well, there is no possibility. You just feel like you're constantly up against a brick wall. Here's another, you know, you know, obstacle in my path. Here's another block in my path, you know, and yeah, you know, and again, you know, if that's all you feel that you're up against, you're going to feel like giving up, when in fact they're not necessarily, you know, they're not, how can I say it, you know, there's ways around them, there's ways over them, there's ways under them. However, you know, we can get you through that, and see it from a different perspective, and you know, move forward in life. Definitely.
Absolutely. So Adam, have you got any question for John?
So going on the courage, confidence and mindset, for anyone out there who's really struggling, what advice could you give them?
Well, first and foremost, you know, don't give yourself a hard time. That's a biggie. And that was, you know, that comes from personal experience of, you know, beating the hell out of myself because I kind of put these levels of perfection on myself that were never attainable. And so, you know, I would really encourage people to break it right down, as in where do you want to go, what do you want to be. And I think one of the most important things really is to take a step back and strip it back. You know, what are your values in life? What do you want to be? What do you want to stand for? You know, what do you want to leave behind? You know, become more authentic within yourself and understand who you are in your truth, because without that, you can't, you know, I think when we're all, this world that we live in, where we're all trying to be like other people, you're totally disconnected from what's going on here. You're not going to feel that much courage and confidence because you're looking at other people that you always want to be. Well, you're never going to be that person. So, you know, you're aspiring for something that, one, doesn't exist, and two, you know, you're not following, you don't know what their values and things are in life. So my first point of call would be strip it right back to some basics. And what do you stand for in life? What do you want out of life? What do you know, what is valuable to you in life? You know, and ultimately, what do you stand for in life? And I think, you know, that would be my first suggestion to anybody: connect with who you are. You know, connect with who you really want to be. And because without that, how can you build what you're building confidence on? Nothing. Somebody else's dream, somebody else's image, you know. So connect with you would be my first real strong suggestion to anybody. Really connect with you and how you show up. How do you want to show up in life? What do you represent? What do you and what do you represent, built on the back of, what are your values and what do you stand for? That has got to be, surely, for me and from my experience, the most basic way of starting building up my confidence and courage. Because if I don't know what I stand for, where's the courage and the confidence coming from?
Yeah, that's it.
It's just built on hot air and social media images and anything else but me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of people, it's all about that highlight reel, isn't it?
Yeah, and hey, listen, I have my tough days. I have days when I don't want to get out of bed. I have days that I come home from work and I just want to put my head under the duvet and turn the rest of the world off. Hey, that's human. And it's okay to have days like that, but it's what you do with that. Okay, before I go to bed, right, okay, you've had a bit of a rough day. Really, what's been going on for you today? How could you have perhaps been different, acted, different? What's it touching in you that's, you need to kind of look at for you in order that I can do something different tomorrow? Anytime I do that, I have a better tomorrow. Every single time. Not once have I done that, and today, the next day has continued to be like that. We're human. We're built. Our default is to make mistakes and errors. More and more, I become more accepting around that. I don't beat the hell out of myself up anywhere near what I used to. Again, on the back of what you asked, how we speak to ourselves is so important. I can be the worst judge and worst critic. No one judges me or criticizes me like me. But, sometimes I have to do it in a loving way.
Yeah.
Not with hatred and not with, what good's that serving me to do that to myself? Or what good is it doing anybody to serve themselves like that? It's not.
Just going to
that's going to knock your confidence,
anxiety, worry, and self-doubt.
Yeah, and that just knocks your self-confidence and courage through the floor. If you're going to treat yourself like that, you wouldn't treat your best friend like that. Don't treat yourself like that. And again, I have to pick myself up on it. Nothing like I used to, but occasionally, hang on a minute, John, you've been a bit, give yourself constructive criticism, but do it in a loving way. Okay, so you made a mistake. Did you kill somebody? Did you, how bad is it really in perspective?
Yeah. I want to ask you a final question. So,
yeah,
what's kind of coming up for you? How can people get in contact with you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page, Men's Mindset Movement, or just John Radcliffe on my profile. If people have got any questions or want to explore it further, please message me. I'd be more than happy to just have a chat and, kind of hear what's going on for you first and foremost, because that's my priority. What's going on for you? And I can see, I can tell you what I can do for you and or if you just want some advice, or you've got even, separately to my coaching, just so I don't want to put this out there worldwide because I don't suddenly want to turn into an advice line. But if you've got a family member that you think might be struggling with drugs and alcohol, it's all right to drop me a message. I'll point you in the right direction if you want. If it just helps somebody a little bit, I don't know, hey, and that's for free. So,
I think we've all recognised the value that John's brought tonight. And so I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, some of which was very brave and courageous to talk about. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure, honestly.
And guys, let's build or draw on our courage,
build up that confidence,
and let's get back our roar.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.